There will come a day, maybe today, when the world will test you. Not gently, not slowly, but with a ruthless blow that leaves you breathless. And in that moment, everyone will look at you to see if you crack. The truth is, pain is not the problem. It's your response that defines you. The strongest people you admire, they feel pain too. Deep pain, but they've mastered the rare art of acting as if nothing hurts them. Not because they're cold, not because they're fake, but because they understand this universal truth. You either control your emotions or your emotions control your destiny. So, I challenge you, watch this entire message not for motivation, but for transformation, because if you really learn this, you'll walk into any storm, any betrayal, any failure, and still look the world dead in the eye and say, "You don't own me." Strength is often misunderstood. People think it's in the volume of your voice, in the size of your muscles, in the way you dominate a room or command attention. But that's surface level. That's theater. Real strength isn't loud. It's not in what you show. It's in what you withstand when no one is watching. It's in the nights you cried in silence but still got up at dawn. It's in the betrayal you endured without letting bitterness consume you. It's in the disappointment you felt but didn't let destroy your hope. The world has taught us to perform our strength. Smile even when you're broken. Pretend even when you're panicking. But true resilience goes deeper. It's not about pretending you're unbreakable. It's about knowing you are breakable and still refusing to stay broken. That's the difference. That's power. To withstand means to endure the storm without losing your direction. It means being hit again and again by setbacks, failures, rejection, pain, and still choosing to keep walking. Most people collapse when life gets heavy. They let the weight of the world bury their purpose. But the strongest ones, they bear it. They carry that weight and walk forward anyway. They don't look for shortcuts or sympathy. They look within. You see, anyone can show strength when things are going right. It doesn't take courage to smile when life is easy. But when life starts tearing at your foundation, when everything around you starts falling apart, that's when your true self is revealed. That's when your endurance becomes your identity. And if you can withstand the storm, not only do you survive, you evolve. Strength is silent because it's built in silence. In the early mornings when you rise despite being tired, in the late nights when you're overwhelmed but still focused, in the moments you feel like screaming but instead take a deep breath and move forward with intention. The people who build something great in life don't do it because they had perfect conditions. They do it because they endured imperfect ones. And here's the thing. No one claps for endurance. No one sees the invisible battles you fight. But it is those unseen victories that shape your destiny. It is the moments when you wanted to give up but didn't that forged your power. It is in the pain you withstood without needing the world to notice that made you resilient beyond measure. You can either show off your strength or you can live it. The world doesn't need more performers. It needs more warriors, individuals who stay solid when everything around them shakes, people who walk with quiet fire, people who don't scream for respect. They command it through consistency, through their presence, through their energy, through the way they withstand. So when life tests you, and it will, don't worry about proving yourself. Just endure. Just hold the line. Because the real proof of strength is not in how hard you hit, but in how hard you can get hit and still keep moving forward. That's the mark of someone who is truly powerful. That's the kind of strength that never fades. Emotions are powerful, but they are not meant to imprison you. They are signals, messengers from within, not chains designed to hold you back. When you feel anger, it's not a command to lash out. When you feel fear, it's not an order to retreat. When sadness visits you, it doesn't mean your progress must halt. These emotions arrive to inform you, to guide your awareness, not to dictate your behavior. The mistake most people make is confusing emotional presence with emotional control. They feel something deeply and assume they must act on it. They let emotions become shackles, controlling their decisions, their tone, their reactions. But emotions were never meant to take the lead. They're meant to alert you. Like a notification bell, they ring so you can notice something, pause, and choose your next step with clarity. Think about the most powerful individuals in the world. Leaders, visionaries, legends. They feel emotion like everyone else, But they've learned to interpret those emotions, not obey them. They receive the signal, stress, anxiety, rage, rejection. But instead of reacting blindly, they listen with wisdom. They sit with the emotion. They ask, what is this trying to tell me? And then they act from a higher place, not out of impulse, but from intention. Your emotions are valid, but they are not facts. Just because you feel like you're not good enough doesn't mean you aren't. Just because you feel tired doesn't mean you can't go on. Just because you feel afraid doesn't mean you're in danger. Your feelings are not the final word. They are the beginning of a conversation with yourself, one you must learn to lead with courage. Most people build their lives on emotion without ever learning to master it. They start businesses from excitement, then quit in fear. They chase dreams when motivated, then abandon them when doubt creeps in. They speak out of anger, then regret it. They run when things get hard, then feel guilt. This cycle continues endlessly because they haven't yet separated the signal from the story. When you understand that emotions rise and fall like waves, you stop drowning in them. You start surfing them. You begin to move with life rather than against it. Every emotion you feel is a teacher. Anger might be telling you that a boundary was crossed. Anxiety might be pointing to a lack of preparation. Jealousy could reveal something you truly desire. Loneliness may remind you to reconnect with your deeper self, but these messages are missed if you let the emotion become your master. You must listen, but never bow. Acknowledge, but don't collapse. Real maturity begins when you stop reacting to how you feel and start responding to what you value. When peace becomes more important than being right. When clarity matters more than urgency. When discipline overrides impulse. That's emotional freedom. That's when the chains fall off, because now you no longer let your emotions lead you, you lead them. To act as if nothing hurts you is not to deny pain, it's to process pain with power. It's to feel the full weight of life's blows and still stand firm, knowing your emotions are not the enemy. They are allies meant to guide, not govern. And when you master this inner dialogue, you become unshakable, not because you're numb, but because you've learned the art of choosing your response. The moment you stop treating emotions as commands is the moment you take your power back. You become the master of your fate, the captain of your soul, not a slave to every storm that passes through your heart. Emotions are not shackles, they are signals, and once you learn to read them, not react to them, you become truly unstoppable. Power does not come from pretending you don't care. It comes from rising above what tries to control you. There is a difference between detachment and suppression, and if you don't understand that difference, you'll spend your life in emotional chaos or emotional denial, neither of which leads to strength. Suppression is when you push something down and pretend it doesn't exist. You silence your fears, bury your anger, smile through your pain, hoping that by ignoring it, it will disappear. But suppressed emotions don't go away, they hide, and eventually they explode. What you suppress controls you from the shadows. But detachment is entirely different. Detachment is awareness without obsession. It is feeling something fully, recognizing it completely, and still choosing not to let it steer the direction of your life. Detachment gives you clarity. It allows you to step back from the moment and say, this is what I'm feeling, but this is not who I am. This is happening to me, but it does not define me. When you detach, you don't stop feeling. You stop being ruled by the feeling. You allow space between stimulus and response. You give yourself the power to choose your reaction. That space, that pause is where your strength lives. Most people think power is loud. They think it's about always being in control, always having the upper hand. But real power is calm. It's quiet. It doesn't need to prove itself. It simply is. Detachment is what keeps that power alive in the middle of conflict, betrayal, or loss. When you're detached, you're no longer emotionally entangled in things you can't control. You're no longer shaken by the opinions of others or thrown off course by temporary emotions. You can hear criticism without absorbing it. You can feel disappointment without letting it define your self-worth. You can experience failure without calling yourself a failure. That is power. That is emotional independence. Suppression is fear-based. It comes from thinking that if you allow yourself to feel something, it will destroy you. But it's not the feeling that breaks you, it's the lie you tell yourself to avoid it. You say, I'm fine when you're not. You say it doesn't matter when it clearly does. And eventually all that pressure breaks through, often in the worst ways: explosive anger, emotional numbness, or complete burnout. That's not strength. That's fragility disguised as toughness. Detachment, on the other hand, is truth-based. It says, yes, I feel this. Yes, this is difficult, but I am bigger than this moment. I am more than this emotion. It allows you to observe what's happening without becoming consumed by it. You become the sky, and your emotions become passing weather. They arrive, they move through, and then they leave, and you steady, unmoved, remain whole. To act as if nothing hurts you, you must practice detachment, not suppression. Suppression will harden you. Detachment will strengthen you. Suppression will numb your joy. Detachment will deepen your peace. Suppression is reactive. Detachment is deliberate. When you detach, you're not disconnecting from life. You're connecting more deeply with your inner power. You're saying, I choose to respond with purpose, not panic. The most powerful people are those who can walk into chaos and remain composed, not because they don't feel, but because they don't allow the external world to dictate their internal state. They've trained themselves to be still within the storm. That training starts with detachment. It starts with the courage to feel everything without needing to act on everything. That is mastery. That is where true power is born, not in suppression, but in detachment, not in pretending to be untouchable, but in choosing to be unmoved. The world doesn't reward emotional chaos. It doesn't hand out medals for panic, rage, or outbursts. It watches how you carry yourself when everything goes wrong. And in those moments, it measures your worth, not by how loud you are, but by how disciplined you are. Emotional discipline is the quiet foundation of every great leader, every enduring success, every powerful presence. It's the ability to hold your ground when everything around you is pulling you in different directions. It's the art of staying steady when life throws you off balance. People respect control, not forced control, but practiced control. The kind that doesn't flinch when insulted. The kind that doesn't explode when challenged. The kind that can smile under pressure, speak calmly in chaos, and move with purpose in uncertainty. Emotional discipline makes you someone others can rely on, someone they trust, someone they listen to, not because you're louder than everyone else, but because you're more stable than everyone else. When you lack emotional discipline, you become a slave to your surroundings. Every rude comment disturbs your peace. Every delay frustrates you. Every failure discourages you. Every doubt shakes you. And people notice. The world observes how easily you get distracted, how quickly you get upset, how frequently you complain. That's when you lose respect, because if you can't govern yourself, how can you lead anyone or anything else? But when you practice emotional discipline, something shifts. You no longer get pulled into drama. You stop responding to negativity. You no longer look for validation in every conversation. You become the one who sets the emotional tone, not the one who reacts to it. You bring calm into rooms full of panic. You bring clarity into confusion. You become the one people turn to, not because you have all the answers, but because you know how to carry yourself through uncertainty. Discipline doesn't mean denial, it means decision. The decision to stay aligned with your highest self, no matter what the moment throws at you. It's choosing silence when words could wound. It's choosing grace when you feel anger. It's choosing patience when everything inside you wants to rush. And over time, this discipline builds a reputation. People start to respect you, not for what you say, but for how you stay grounded. They respect how you hold yourself, how you recover from setbacks, how you manage pressure without making it everyone else's problem. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you lack emotional discipline, you'll sabotage every opportunity. You'll burn bridges, lose allies, and make decisions you regret. But with discipline, even average talent becomes powerful, because now you can endure, you can wait, you can persist, you can lead. You become the person who doesn't break under pressure but sharpens under it. In the end, emotional discipline is not about being cold or emotionless. It's about channeling your emotions into strength, feeling everything deeply but responding with wisdom, letting emotions rise but not letting them rule. That's what the world respects. That's what makes you powerful. Not the emotion itself, but the discipline to guide it with purpose. Because when you can master what's going on inside you, the world outside you begins to follow your lead. There are moments in life when the pain is too deep to speak, times when your soul is screaming but your mouth remains closed, not because you're weak, but because you've learned the power of silence. When you're bleeding internally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, the instinct is to cry out, to explain yourself, to let the world know just how much you're suffering. But the wisest among us know that silence in those moments is not surrender. It is strategy. It is survival. It is strength in its rawest form. The world is not always kind to vulnerability. When you bleed out loud, there are those who will comfort you, but there are many who will judge you, mock you, or worse, use your wounds against you. That's why silence is not just protection, it's a weapon. It denies the world access to your deepest battles. It forces you to face yourself. It demands self-respect. Silence is how warriors heal in plain sight. It's how they keep moving even when it feels like every step is a battle. Pain makes people talk. It makes them vent, scream, complain, explain. But pain doesn't always need to be shared. Sometimes it just needs to be faced. In solitude, in stillness, because the noise outside can never heal the storm inside. Silence teaches you to listen to your inner voice, to stop relying on the validation of others, to stop seeking sympathy and start finding your own strength. When you sit in silence, wounded but unbroken, you begin to understand something. You don't have to prove your pain to anyone. You just have to rise through it. Those who endure the most often say the least, because they understand that not everyone deserves access to their struggles. They don't waste energy explaining what can't be understood by those who haven't walked through fire themselves. They bleed quietly, rebuild privately, and come back stronger, not to impress others, but to honor the war they fought alone. That's the level of power silence can give you. Silence also keeps your dignity intact. When people wrong you, when life cuts you, when the world turns its back on you, speaking in anger or desperation might bring momentary relief, but it also gives your power away. Silence, on the other hand, forces people to question what you're thinking. It makes them wonder how you're still standing. It turns pain into mystery, and mystery into strength, because when you're silent, no one knows your next move, and that unpredictability is powerful. And let's be clear, silence isn't avoidance. It's not about pretending the pain isn't there. It's about choosing not to leak it everywhere. It's about giving yourself time to process, to grieve, to reflect without the pressure of performance, without the weight of expectations. It's the sacred space where healing begins, far away from the noise of judgment and misunderstanding. There's a reason why some of the most powerful transformations happen in the dark, because in silence, there's no one to impress, no one to deceive, just you, your pain, and the fire inside you that refuses to die. That fire gets stronger every time you choose not to break in public, every time you choose to breathe, to stay calm, to move forward quietly, because silence doesn't mean you've given up, it means you've taken control. When you're bleeding internally, silence becomes a weapon not of war, but of wisdom, a declaration that says, I will not be broken out loud. I will not let the world define my struggle. I will rise, not with noise, but with discipline, not with complaints, but with clarity, not with drama, but with determination. In your silence, you forge your strength. In your silence, you prepare your comeback. And when you finally speak again, it won't be in pain, it will be in power. No one is born with an unbreakable mind. It's not a gift. It's not inherited. It's not in your bloodline or your genetics. It's built through repetition, through hardship, through daily decisions that most people avoid. The mind becomes unbreakable not in comfort but in confrontation, not by chance but by choice. Every person you've ever admired for their resilience, their calm under pressure, their ability to move forward when others fall apart, they weren't born that way. They trained themselves, one difficult moment at a time. The unbreakable mind is forged in the fire of adversity. It is shaped when you're tired, but still choose to show up. It's built when you're afraid, but still take the step. It's formed when you want to lash out, but choose silence. When you want to quit, but stay. When everything in you says stop, and you respond with movement. That's the training ground, and no one escapes it. If you want a mind that does not fold under pressure, you have to put yourself in situations that test your limits and teach you who you really are. Most people want strength without the struggle, but it doesn't work that way. You don't get a powerful mind by wishing for it. You get it by confronting what weakens you. You build it by doing the hard things consistently. You wake up early when comfort says sleep. You stay focused when distractions scream for your attention. You train your mind every time you reject the easy path in favor of the meaningful one. An unbreakable mind is disciplined. It doesn't chase moods. It doesn't rely on motivation. It creates routines that don't ask how you feel. They tell you what to do. It thrives on repetition, on structure, on standards that don't lower just because life gets tough. It understands that life is unpredictable, but response is controllable. And when you train your mind, you control your responses like a master. You decide how you show up, no matter what shows up to test you. The world tries to convince you that mental toughness is rare, that only a few possess it, but that's not the truth. The truth is most people never train their mind long enough to see what they're capable of. They stop when it hurts. They retreat when it's hard. They wait for the conditions to be perfect before they commit. But the people who truly become unbreakable, those who walk through fire and come out sharper, they don't wait. They train, day after day, in silence, in solitude, in sacrifice. The unbreakable mind doesn't come from avoiding pain. It comes from facing it with courage and learning to sit in discomfort without losing clarity. It's not about being fearless. It's about doing it anyway, again and again, until fear no longer has a voice, until pressure no longer breaks your focus, until emotions no longer derail your purpose. You won't wake up one day suddenly immune to adversity, but you can wake up every day and choose to be stronger than you were yesterday. That's how the mind is built, like a muscle. You train it by doing the work no one sees, by enduring when no one claps, by believing in your future self so strongly that no obstacle can convince you otherwise. And one day, after enough pain, enough repetition, enough resolve, you'll realize something powerful. You didn't just survive, you transformed. You didn't just hold it together, you became unstoppable. That's not born, that's built. That's the reward of training your mind until it bends but never breaks. The world will test you. Life will throw its hardest punches when you least expect them, but your power lies not in avoiding the blows, but in how you rise after taking them. To act as if nothing hurts you is not about being emotionless. It's about being so grounded, so trained, so fiercely disciplined that pain no longer owns you. You lead your emotions. You master your mind. You bleed in silence, move with clarity, and act with purpose. Every setback becomes fuel. Every hardship becomes a stepping stone. You don't crumble, you evolve. And in that transformation, you become something rare, something powerful. You become unshakable, not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger. This is your call to rise above, to train the mind, to detach from chaos, to hold your silence, and to walk forward, calm, clear, and unbreakable. This is your time. Own it.